These are on. Yep. Microphone's working.
We do have a quorum. On the agenda, before we approve the agenda, starting at the bottom, we do not have a need for item 10 or 9. And moving up to 6B, Jim will address that in the CAC report, but that's also not ready for us, but will be coming back. So if we have a motion to approve eliminating 6B, 9, and 10.
I so move with those modifications.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, public comment period for items not on the agenda. This would be the time for anyone in the audience who would like to bring something before this board that is not on today's agenda to do so. No? Item 4 is approval of the minutes from the July 13, 2016 regular meeting.
Move approval?
Second.
Now, Commissioner, did you just do that to throw me off, or
What's that? Say second
just
or to move you?
moved?
I did. I had to keep these two separated.
Oh, okay. Appreciate that.
She says you're easily confused.
We do have a motion on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5. Jim, if you could join me in this. We have 2 CAC members that are term limited, Jim Egbert and Rick Hoover. Jim is able to be here, and I understand Rick's wife is here. There we go.
Oh,
Okay. If you'd both like to come up to the podium, and Jim, if you could just say a few words about how we've abused these folks, and they just keep coming back for more.
Well, Jim Godfrey, the chair of the CAC. I've been with the RTA CAC now for about 4 years, or going on plus 4 years. And these guys were on the board when I got here. And it was immediately obvious the experience, the knowledge, and the work experience in terms of that these guys bring to the table, and knowledge of the different kinds of projects. And so I think I can very safely say on behalf of the other members of the CAC, these guys will be sorely missed. And they have always got good, solid comments to say, and suggestions to make, and recommendations to make. So we're going to miss them.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
And thank Rick for us. Give him a hug and a kiss.
I'll do that as well.
Condolences, did you say?
On your behalf?
Would,
you want a kiss on your behalf?
Would either of you like to? Jim, go ahead.
Sure.
You've never been. Oh, wait a minute. He's bringing out his notes.
Oh yeah, I got a whole bunch of them. No, I've. It's amazing how quickly 6 years can go by, and looking back on it, it's been great being part of CTAB and the PPRTA CAC. One of the things that Rick and I both got involved in early was what were the capital projects for 2014, and for the extension, we worked on that. I then also had the opportunity to work on a citizen committee that helped get that passed, and I think that's wonderful. I think the PPRTA is probably one of the greatest things that happened in the region. It benefits everybody, and some of the things that I'm happy about is, as I've been promised, the city will meet their maintenance of effort on transit in the 2017 budget, which will be the first time in 7 years, and I think that's wonderful. And I've also had an opportunity to understand specialized human service providers and the work that they do, and I'm very impressed with that. So it's been a great opportunity for me. I've learned a lot, and hopefully have done some good in the process. So thank you very much.
Jim, he'll go away.
I'm just going to echo everything
I'll
that
stay
Jim
and be
said.
obedient. That's not my way, but I'll do it.
He can't be here, but he asked me to step in for him. And I just want you to know how much he enjoyed this and hoping he was a help to everybody. And he's going to miss the time away from the house, but I'll fix that for him in due time. But I know that he was glad to be a part of this entire committee and everything it does for the city. So thank you very much, and he'll miss you guys too.
Thank you for volunteering to represent him.
My pleasure.
I met both of these guys, Jim and Rick, on various committees. Jim, we've corralled him on county stuff. Rick, I saw him more on city and some Kono boards. But somehow we were able to tap into their expertise, and we really appreciate the fact that Rick and Jim, that you were willing to serve, because you do the heavy lifting. You have the 3-hour meetings so we can have the 45-minute meetings, and we appreciate that.
That's very true.
And other comments? Commissioner Littleton.
Thank you. I think that it's only, one term you have to sit out, and then you can reapply and be back on for another 6 years, which will be just about in time for the next, up for PPRTA at that point in time. And then in the meantime, to keep them busy, they can go on the El Paso County website. We've got lots of boards and commissions that would fit their skills and talents, so they can apply to those too.
I'm quite sure that that's around the corner.
Not so fast, Commissioner Littleton. We've already told them we've got some open positions coming up on the RTA CAC.
Okay.
Some at-large members. We want them back.
All right, gotcha. Oh, good, so we can give them back.
There is a certain wisdom in term limits, and I think it behooves us to pay attention.
Why was he looking at me when he said that? So, Mr. Godfrey, if you could help me hand out our certificates of appreciation. And we have Emery here.
Oh, dear. I don't look anything like
You're going to
that.
have to get a little closer over there. We got close.
Hey, Jim.
Okay.
These devices are like
Buds.
wide, I gotta get closer.
Is that microphone in your way?
Nope. Got it.
Good.
We'll pick the best one.
I will introduce you around. In the meantime, tell him thank you.
Absolutely, sure will.
Appreciate you coming.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to 5B, which is the Citizens Advisory Committee Monthly Report. Welcome, Jim.
Welcome back. So, in your packet, the city presented to us in the contracts department, or contract portion of our agenda, a package it's otherwise known as 36 line items for contracts. Some of this has to do with the conversation that you guys had last month when I wasn't able to be here about simplifying their process within the city for letting contracts, or having an umbrella contract with a pre-approved group of folks, a predefined cap on that project that allows them to very expeditiously issue a task order against that contract for A&E design. Our concern last month was they were using an umbrella stormwater contract, and we try to stay away from using RTA and stormwater in the same sentence. So the city came back with these on-call A&E services with a $3 million limit per contractor per year. And in the packet that we had, some administrative oversights and some of the backup material still contained the word stormwater and some of the project categories, such as capital maintenance and transit, weren't all checked properly. And the task order amount was at $500K versus the approved amount that you guys did last night of $200K for RTA projects. So what was in our packet is different than what you had in here because the city submitted a revised packet. So what we did in our discussion was we separated, although the vote didn't show it, I did not take two separate votes, and I'll take credit for that. But the recommendation was to vote on them separately, the first 35 pending the submission of the revised data sheets, which Rick had at the time. So that passed pending those approvals. And then the last one, item number 36, was adding a scope, a task order, or change order to the rehabilitation of Academy Boulevard Bridge over Cottonwood Creek. It's the one just south of Woodman, where the Cottonwood Creek Trail ends at a guardrail, and you have to kind of step out into the highway there, or Academy Boulevard, before going forward. But both of those groupings, with the amended changes and the last one, were recommend approval to you as a board. The county came forward with the contract on some.
Jim,
Sir?
before we leave that topic,
I just
Councilmember?
wanted to let you know, after our last meeting, I did meet with our chief of staff and with Travis Easton, and the S word will not be used in the future.
Thank you. That alleviates a lot of concern on the members of my group. So.
It was causing confusion.
It was.
And that it was never intended to do that.
Right.
But it could lead people to misinterpret things very easily.
While people in this room and our group may understand that, the
Yeah,
public might not.
That's exactly right.
And
That
so
will
that's-
happen in the future.
so.
And I appreciate you bringing it to our attention.
Yeah, no problem. And you guys made the decision, and we'll, as a CAC, abide by those guidelines, and that's adjust our baseline from that, so we'll do that. Any other comments on the cities? The county came forward with a purchase order of $36,000 for Lower Fountain Metropolitan Sewage Disposal District, some easements and right-of-way stuff on Mark Shuffle South. We make a recommendation for approval on that. The change order property acquisition report, the city didn't have any. The county came through with a last purchase of about $25,000 for some, again, Mark Shuffle South project, and our recommendation is approval on that as well. Any questions on those before I step into the next part of this? Several members of the CAC had concerns as the member governments are beginning to bring in changing the value, the total value of a project as they're coming forward for changing. Some of those in the early memo were fairly significant, several 100% change in the original cost that was in the original A list of projects, which brought up the discussion about how do we go about doing this from a policy perspective, because when those lists were put together, they're already 4 years old, and the further you get down to the right on the timeline to go and execute those projects, it goes to be that much more off. And so at what point do we, during the budget formulation phase of a new fiscal year, know what we're dealing with versus waiting for them to come forward to a request to award? And so we kind of started the discussion of what's the best way to do this. We're not far enough along with RTA 2 for the rainbow spreadsheet that you may have seen before, Bev's sheet of multiple years. As those changes begin to see, you could see the original baseline. And we know that from experience over the last year or so that project costs have escalated, and different kinds of projects have a different escalation rate. So there's not a straight percentage rate that you can apply to projects and update it. And after talking with Jennifer and Kathleen from the city, that they don't look at anything until it's inside budget year. So there's no sense going through the mental exercise of trying to update a project just 3 years out in the future, because they're already maxed out with staff time, and it doesn't do any good. It's going to change again anyway. And so what is the most efficient way for the CAC and the board to know what the current projected cost, or certainly the updated project cost is for a project, without overburdening their staff or the RTA staff. So we kind of started that discussion, and it was the memo from that the city provided with some project budget adjustments that kind of started that conversation, which is the item that you removed. And we, what we decided to do within the CAC was to postpone further discussion on that until next month, and we're going to have an agenda item for that discussion in our next month's agenda. So we'll come back to you hopefully with a recommendation on a way that we think would be a way to go about doing this. And it may be we use the same thing we did in RTA 1 versus creating something new. But we thought from the timing perspective that the member governments would like to have some guidance when they put out the 2017 budget formulation process about this is how you're going to deal with project increases as you come forward. And so anyway, that's what that discussion was about. And we'll continue that next month and hopefully have some more concrete form of a recommendation to bring forward to you for next month.
Questions, comments on that item? Once again, thank you for having a long discussion, so hopefully we can have the short one.
Well, we don't want to overburden the staff, but we also, not seeing total project costs because the sheet's not out. We want to be able to have a firm, from the citizens' perspective, is want to have a look at a project to make sure that costs are reasonable, cost increases are reasonable and fall within the guidelines that we've been doing. And so we've got some new members, and so there's, when maybe they don't understand that an estimate's 4 years old and it's going to change, but we want to be able to have the answer for that in case our constituents and our people ask it. We fully understand what the process is, and so that's our goal.
Trustee Stephen.
Additionally, as this conversation continues, I think it's also important to keep our eye on parity between the member entities as well. The spreadsheet that came out was, essentially taking money from the other entities that was allocated to the city, and I know that's not the intent or where it will probably ultimately lie, but publicizing and not being sensitive to that, even in a draft form, can be problematic.
Yeah, and I think that the one thing that we're all pretty clear on is that if we're going to allocate additional funds, and we've got a good problem in that our revenue is increasing, and so there's a limit. Can the industry support more work? One, can the staff support more design or more work? We get it designed and can't work on it for 2 years and everything changes. That's kind of wasted money too. But I think that there's fair agreement to say that if any additional funds allocation will be by the given formula based on population, just like the process. And I think that at least that's the way I feel right now. The whole CAC had discussed that, but I think changing that would be not advised at all. So.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Complication.
Brings us to item 6, our financial reports. Beverly?
Good news, Beverly. Continues to be good news.
Good afternoon. As you can see, in June, we received quite a large sales and use tax revenue of $8,752,000. And the next column, the monthly budget column, has been revised for the amended budget of $89 million sales and use tax revenue versus what we had last month in this column was $69 million. So we're still ahead of the amended budget for the month by $598,000 or 7.3%, and year-to-date, $1,879,000 or 4.5%. So at least at this point, it looks like we're going to have additional revenue in next year's amended budget. We'll see what the next couple of months bring, and then I will come up with, in about a month or so, a revised revenue estimate for 2017 to get the board's and CAC's permission to start the 2017 budget process. So But on page 2, we're ahead of last year by 2.8 million, or 6.8%. The page 3, 4, and 5 is the revenue and expense summary, and the sales tax and different revenue categories are up at the top, and the expenses start about a third of the way down on page 3. And if you see a negative expenditure in any of the line items, it's typically it is a cost share item where we've gotten revenue from a developer or possibly a grant income against that item. So, does anyone have any questions?
How long is this going to last? Trustee Stevens.
Two questions. One, I don't see a balance sheet, and just wondering where our account balances are. Any significant changes since last time?
No, we still have quite a bit of cash.
Too much cash.
Well, you can never have too much cash. But yeah, it's been kind of hard because there's been so many projects started, but there are really a lot of them in the design phase, and so we're not getting the large amounts of cash out there until they're in the construction phase.
Right. And my second piece is just point of curiosity of the cumulative expenditures that we've made and our revenues received. I know that we're not near that billion, but
No, when I looked after we talked about this the last time, and we have about 3 years.
Okay.
So I thought we might be a little closer, but 3 more years, and then we can have a big celebration. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 7, capital maintenance and public transportation contracts to City of Colorado Springs. Welcome, Mike.
Good afternoon, Mike Chavez, City Engineering. We've got basically 2 items for your consideration. The first one is 35 contracts for consultant services. We're seeking your approval to use them up to $200,000 of RTA fund per task order with a $3 million cap per year, as it was stated earlier. And that's just, we're changing the way we're doing our consulting services, trying to, instead of have 120 consultants on call, and we try to condense that and have a little bit higher limit so we can do more of the larger projects without having to do an RFP every single time, which takes about 2 months from start to end. So it'll help us get things out the door faster. And then the last one is a change order for CP&Y. We're going to have them bring a contractor on board to help with some design and some constructability issues, so try to keep the cost down on that project.
Based upon the recommendation from the CAC, I move approval.
Thank you. Mike, I appreciate you taking this back through whatever steps you had to.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't approve it last month just because of.
No, I understand, and like I said,
the wording, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Question.
Further comments? Yes, council member.
So we don't run afoul of all our conversations. Wordsmithing does not necessitate that this is not stormwater directed. So what is the mechanism in place for ensuring the on-call services don't drift in this and we come back later to find out that it was only a wordsmith vice a actual event? Is there some sort of record kept about what these on-call services are?
Well, yes, there'll be task orders that come over to Rick to approve, and he'll compare the work that was done versus what we're trying to charge it against. So
The separation between church and state, stormwater, and the rest. You're well versed in that process, so we don't run afoul of wordsmith. Thank you. That's all I need to say.
Thank you. Good point. Good word. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
thank you.
Thanks, Mike. 7B, El Paso County, same item.
Good afternoon, Jennifer Irvin, El Paso County. Just one contract item this month. It's for utility reimbursement for the Mark Shuffle South project. This is a utility that's in an easement that needs some adjustment. So it's with Lower Fountain Metro District, sanitary sewer manhole facilities that need some adjustment to accommodate the project. So $36,723.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer. 8A, under other reports, Transit Services Monthly Update. Welcome, Craig.
Well, thank you. It's good to be here. We have our report in your agenda packet. And again, Craig Blewett, Transit Services Manager with the City of Colorado Springs. And just running through a couple items real quickly. Our local fixed route service had a 4% increase June of this year compared to June of last year, which is healthy. Our ADA paratransit service, about the same, it's 3.4% increase. So it's about similar to the fixed route increase. Van pools, we've had 4 months in a row of decline. And a couple things to comment on that. One is part of it's our normal variation where we've had, I think, 2 or 3 van pool groups just sort of dissipate, which happens from time to time. But I think we're seeing some of the impact of low gas prices, to be honest with you. We're a little less competitive than we could be. And perhaps Mustang is also doing very well, too. We are working with an employer right now that we think is going to lead to 1 or 2 van pools that we would add. So hopefully next time I report to you, I'll have some positive news on that. In terms of projects, we've been working on our downtown transit station relocation project. We have had good public process so far. We have a stakeholders group as well as a technical group we're working with. We've had an open house, and we did a presentation to City Council a few weeks back showing that we got it down to 12 sites. We're working on getting that down to 5 candidate sites, where we're going to do a little more in-depth evaluation in terms of how to get into out of that site, do some preliminary design concepts and so forth. And we hope to wrap this all up by September timeframe. So that's moving forward in a very good way. The fall service changes have been finalized. Those are scheduled to be implemented starting September 18th. Comprised of 3 things. We're adding off-peak service, evening and weekend service, which is great. So on a number of routes, we're adding some evening service, some Saturday service, and some Sunday service, depending on the route. And we've presented those routes to you, I think, earlier. It's made possible by the budget amendment that took place and approved by this board a couple months ago. So it's consistent with that. We've also made some scheduling changes that improve connections between bus routes, and also a routing modification or 2. The biggest one was we had 15-minute service on Nevada, and we've taken one of those routes off Nevada and put it onto Weber, 1 block to the east. So we retain that one within 1 block, that 15-minute frequency that's so important, but it's taken some of the impact off of one street. So we think that was a good compromise. And then really, all those things in combination, we're really striving to improve our overall productivity and how we serve the community, and that's coming along very well. Lastly, August 21st is National Senior Citizens Day, and in recognition of that, we are going to offer free bus service on that day. It's a Sunday this year, which is a little odd, but we want to stay consistent with that day. Also, it's consistent with our promotions this year. We're really targeting seniors in terms of riding our fixed route bus system. So offering that free day of service, we think, is a good thing.
What day is that?
Sunday, August 21st. And here's our little advertisement with that, which is pretty cool. So,
Council member?
yeah, give me one.
Why were you looking at me when you announced?
You might know someone who's 60 years old and older. So be happy to answer any other questions you might have in addition to that one.
Councilmember. Commissioner Littleton.
Thank you. So just I'm glad to see that you guys voluntarily changed the 15 minutes over to another street, because I was getting an earful from people that lived down there, people that were actually, one family in particular that was actually moving because of it. I mean, it was because of many different factors, but they're like, we're not going to do this. And they were frustrated because they saw the buses practically empty most of the time. So I guess the question is I would like to, even though we've increased it to every 15 minutes. I want to see the ridership on those, and if it's not going to increase, then recommend that we go back to every half hour and utilize that somewhere else on a more heavily utilized route.
Yeah, actually, we took two routes. I mean, the Cascade route and the Wasatch route, before the budget cuts, both ran at 30 minutes. Wasatch went down to 60 minutes after the budget cuts. We really just combined those two routes really to go on one corridor, which is more direct between the downtown and UCCS. And with UCCS's growth and really transforming from a commuter university to a traditional university, and we're having more, they're building another dorm this year with more and more dorm students, we feel that's really fertile ground in terms of serving the community and providing that connection between UCCS, downtown, and other locations. So, but we will be looking at the ridership as we go forward. It can take a little while, you know, because people will make decisions on where they live based on what service we provide. So it takes a little while for it to take impact, so I ask you to be patient, but we will be tracking that. We'll be happy to report back to you.
Other comments? Yes, Mayor.
So I wanted to just acknowledge, I went to the Independence Center lunch. That was not that long ago, and they had the, I think it was the Driver of the Year
Yeah.
awards.
Yes.
And so when you talk about trying to improve customer service and productivity, I think you're doing a great job. And that room was packed, and a lot of the people who were there know those drivers, and those drivers mean a lot to those people. So I think that that's huge. I also just wanted to sort of echo or second what you said in terms of taking time, because the Route 3 bus end of the line is in Manitou Springs, and it used to come through town to the west roundabout and back out. Well, we stop it at Old Man's Trail now because the times they were delayed all the time in the summer because they can't get through. So we stop it at Old Man's Trail, and there's a bit of a different route now, and it cut out a few stops, and we have had a lot of feedback from folks that they're not happy with it, and we've even synced our shuttle times. As you're probably fully aware, we sync our free shuttle times so that folks up at Ruxton can get to the Route 3 bus and not have a delay more than, maybe a 5-minute layover. So I just want to say, as a bus rider myself for many years, you get accustomed to your patterns and your schedule. So it does take time. I guess I'm just sort of saying this for Commissioner Littleton and her constituents, is it does take time. People don't want the bus in front of their house, but the truth is, everything that was spoken about at the Independence Center was really an awareness and a change of mindset around mass transit, that we can all be using it. That family that gets frustrated with it stopping in front of their house, jump on, right? Use that and do some of the stuff that you need to do. Teach your kids about that environmental piece, whatever, to erase some of that stigma of people being low income or disabled or whatever that may be. So I applaud everything you guys are doing and hope that people can be patient, because I think these changes are going to be great, and it's just going to take some time for people to shift. So that's just my 2 cents about it.
Terrific, thanks. And just another quick mention, I guess, with regard to the Manitou downtown shuttle. Ridership has been tremendous this year. We've seen a big increase compared to last year. I think, from a ridership standpoint, it's working. From a parking management standpoint, I think it's working as well. So it's been a great partnership.
Councilmember Murray.
Echo a little bit what the mayor is saying. I've had a lady, part of the EDA, and talking about these drivers, how much they love them.
Yes.
And she's adamant that you should give these awards out each month. She's called me every week now. When are we going to start this, giving the awards every month? Because I want to make nominations. So, in all honesty, because it's incredibly successful, and I think they would really like to have the opportunity to reward, even if it's a diploma, certificate, whatever it is, for these drivers, for the particular thing. So you just, to say that I passed the requirement back over to you, but thank you. You've done a good job.
Appreciate it. Well, I think, the recognition and appreciation goes a long way, and those folks do a tremendous job. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Bringing us to the El Paso County Change Order and Property Acquisition Report.
Jennifer Irvin again. This is again for Mark Shuffle South. This is, I think, one of the last property acquisitions. I'll have to check with Dennis, the project manager, on that. But this is for a property at the north end near US 24 and Mark Shuffle. And so we did an appraisal. The value for the temporary easement and the permanent easement came to $25,563. The property owner chose not to do their own appraisal, but chose to accept our offer, and so that's what we have in front of you. So it's a reporting item.
Thank you. Good to hear that that about wraps up the property acquisition, because we can't move without having permission. So,
Exactly.
thank you.
I think we do have a couple properties that we did an agreement with, paid into escrow. It's a,
Use and possession.
thank you, a possession and use agreement with, and we still have to settle out the dollar amount, but we do have possession, and that's our Lorson Ranch.
Okay.
So we'll be continuing to work with them now that we have some of these other things out of the way and try and wrap that up.
Thank you. 9 and 10 are no longer part of the agenda. Under 11, before we really get into announcements, Mayor Nicoletta asked a question early on about a contingency fund and what may be available. Would you like to explain kind of what you were thinking?
Sure. So up Ruxton Avenue in Manitou Springs is the creek, and there are several properties on the opposite side of Ruxton Avenue with just the creek getting to their house, or the bridges getting to their homes. We have a bridge, it's called the Brook Street Bridge. It has been, July 5th, it was declared of imminent danger. We're now actually referring to it as staged debris, not so much a bridge. So it is. It's been blocked off since May of 2015. We were trying to get some FEMA funding, but it's not eligible for that because we can't prove that it was significantly damaged in the 15 or 13 flood. The street is basically horseshoe, and it's very, very tight. There's 6 or 8 homes on there. It is very difficult for our first responders to do what they absolutely have to do. So they've been making do, but it's not ideal, and they've stated that. It's not the way it should be. We have some funds that we can put toward it. It is definitely, I would call it, a bit of an emergency, because if it does collapse, which we just got lucky when it was 3 years yesterday from the 2013 flood. So we've just been lucky, and if we do get an extreme storm, that thing's coming down most likely. So I just didn't know. I'm basically putting it out there. I don't know what the process is for contingency funds. I didn't even know we had them. I just want to know, is it an option? And if so, how does the City of Manitou Springs move forward with something like that, with a request, I guess?
I probably answered incorrectly when you asked. I was thinking reserve funds. We do have reserve funds, but the discussion still needs to be had. Do we have a way to help a member government out? Do you have any dollar amounts? Does anybody put together an estimate?
We had set aside in our budget $110,000, and we've used about $30,000 of that. And AMEC Foster Wheeler is working on the demolition design, and then we'll be hopefully starting that in September. And the full scope of it all, from basically including the $110,000 that we've allocated, it's about $420,000. So we can add, the City of Manitou Springs can definitely add to that 110 for sure, but the 420 would be an incredibly difficult thing for us to manage in one fell swoop.
Rob, do you want to?
Yeah, I can start. I think typically the list of capital projects that was on the ballot and that's listed, it's hard to say. We probably need to talk further about, is it more of fixing the bridge, maintaining it, or replacing the bridge?
It's not fixable.
It's not, it's, yeah, would you say is a great term, staged debris, or? I like that.
Yeah, it's accurate. And so it's actually not even safe for pedestrian use.
Yeah, I think that the restrictions we've operated on is the list of capital were approved by the voters. But again, I was looking at your titles of your capital projects to see if it was close to either West End pedestrian. This doesn't sound like West End. This is up Ruxton. Yeah.
Which I think we have something on there. Maybe it's PPACG that we have drainage improvements, pedestrian and drainage.
Yeah.
Is that
You've got some on RTA, pedestrian and drainage improvement for the West End.
okay?
Downtown sidewalk drainage and utility improvements. and the shuttle and reconstruction 31st Street to 24. So yeah, it doesn't look like it can wiggle into that. I know we've talked about PPACG trying to see if we can help through CDOT. We'll pursue that, but from the capital list, it seems a little, it looks like it's restricted to those uses.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Littleton.
Thanks. Cool, was it,
County or city?
I'm surprised since it was in such bad shape. It sounds like it's been for a while.
Emergency bridge.
It wasn't on the capital list initially for assistance or replacements. I mean, you're put in a difficult position because you came after that, right? And so, so I guess the question is that, I mean, I know you guys, it sounds like it's a safety issue and you need to do it, but you can always, I guess the question is if there was another flood and it was wiped out, would FEMA come in and help replace it then?
Maybe. They might. I think that it was on a maintenance schedule that was established about 5 years ago and it never happened. So
now it's got to be replaced as opposed to maintained.
Yep. Yep. So, okay, thank you. I didn't know, so I appreciate you educating me on that.
Difficult.
Councilmember Murray.
Well, I can't volunteer anybody, but curiosity, I mean, with the ACG this morning and talking about cooperative agreements and things like this, and listening to Ms. Craig, and I was hoping Beggar to see if she was here when she was working on bridge projects. I don't know if a design assistance would be of assistance. And I don't know how cooperative and how those things might work. If we could even ask her if she could assist in this particular project again. We've been talking a lot in kind environments, and as part of a cooperative agreement, if she could possibly, allocate a couple hours or whatever it would take to assist you in a design phase of this project, so that with the design you'd have dollars and cents and a conceptual environment to bring back. Okay, again, I see a synergy, but I don't know how to put the synergy in play without, Councilman Bennett, the rest of the folks, and of course the city's assistance. But think about these things. I constantly think that there's so much more we could do as a cooperative environment instead of trying to do it alone and put an RFP out there.
Councilmember Bagley.
Well, is there any way that it could be considered a stormwater issue or a utilities issue? Just
Probably stormwater. I've seen the bridge. I mean, it's over a major drainage.
Utilities wouldn't want standing debris in the way of their waterway, would they?
I don't think so.
both of us, I think, are saying maybe let's pursue what we can do.
Okay.
Maybe when it becomes unstaged, laying in the river, it becomes stormwater at that point.
Yeah. You may not want to do the demolition.
Cross my fingers for floods.
Oh, let's don't go there. Let's don't.
Or collapse.
Okay, moving on. Other member announcements. Councilmember Bennett.
Yeah, this is just for your information. As you've probably seen in the paper, where it's imminent. I believe it's scheduled for late September, early October for groundbreaking for Children's Hospital on the north end of Colorado Springs up in Larry's district. I just wanted you to know we're in discussions as it relates to transit, because we have an issue. If Children's Hospital is up there, and I'll use something here there's a low-income family in Manitou whose child has to have service, that family can't get there on our bus system. You can take Southeast Colorado Springs, same thing. They can't get there. And so we're in discussions. I have a meeting, I believe it's tomorrow, with Transit and with Children's Hospital and Memorial, because we need to be working in partnership to deal with this. When Children's Hospital was downtown, they could get there. But by moving it up there, it's caused another problem for our entire community. So just want you to know we're working on that to try to find solutions. We may be looking at some creative solutions, might even include Uber or stuff of that nature, that could help do that, because sending a full bus up there may not be cost effective, but there might be a way that we could deal with with the families that need it. So I just wanted you to know that concern is recognized and it's being worked on. We don't have a solution yet, though.
Thank you. Other member announcements? Dennis?
We're having our 13th annual Raymond Days this Saturday. It starts at 7:30 with the street breakfast, there's parade, there's all kinds of stuff that goes on during the day. We're going to have a tractor pull this year, which will be our first, so we're going to see how that turns out. It's just a one-day event. We'll have a barbecue dinner at 4 o'clock, and then there'll be a dance. It'll start about 7:30 and run till about midnight, depending on weather. That's what we're at.
Is Raymond Days is called?
Yeah.
Is it as fun as Bronc Days up in Green Mountain Falls?
Oh, yeah.
Or better, or better. Yeah, absolutely.
Wait a minute.
It's like, oh, ouch.
Come out and see.
That's right, see for
Stab.
yourself, right?
Stab.
Any other member announcements? With that, we're adjourned.
Good job.
Well, less than one.